A mob boss made a joke about Dean Martin's son. His calm response shocked everyone. May 1987, 2 months after Dean Paul Martin died in a plane crash. Dean Martin was still in hell. Every morning he woke up, and for a split second he forgot. Then reality would crash back in. His son was gone. His boy, his Dean Paul, 25 years old and dead, because his fighter jet disappeared into a mountain during a training exercise. Dean had stopped performing, stopped leaving the house most days, stopped being Dean Martin. The cool was gone. The smile was gone. What was left was just a broken father, trying to figure out how to keep breathing when the person who mattered most wasn't breathing anymore. But Vegas doesn't stop for grief. Vegas keeps moving, and in May 1987, there was a party. A big one. Casino owner's birthday. Every important person in Vegas was expected to attend, including Dean Martin. Dean didn't want to go. Hadn't wanted to go anywhere since March. But the casino owner, Richard Castellano, had been good to him over the years, had given him residencies when other venues wouldn't, had never asked questions about Dean's relationship with certain connected individuals. So when Castellano personally called and asked Dean to make an appearance, just for an hour, Dean said yes. He showed up at 9 p.m., showered, shaved, wearing a tuxedo, looking like Dean Martin, but anyone who really looked could see the difference. The eyes were empty. The smile was mechanical. The man who'd spent 40 years making everything look effortless now looked like it took everything he had just to stand upright. The party was at Castellano's private club. 200 people. Champagne, caviar, the best of everything. Everyone who was anyone in Vegas. Entertainers, politicians, businessmen, and the other kind of businessmen. The kind who wore expensive suits and had names that ended in vowels. The kind Dean had known his whole career. The kind you were friendly with but never friends with. Dean found a quiet corner, got a drink, planned to stay exactly 1 hour, and then go home to his grief. That's when Vincent Marconi walked over. Vincent was Chicago outfit. Old school. The kind of guy who'd broken legs in the 50s and graduated to white-collar operations in the 70s. He ran sports betting, loan operations, and had a piece of several casinos. He was rich, powerful, and used to getting whatever he wanted, including attention. Dean Martin. Vincent's voice boomed across the room. Several people turned. The legend himself. "I thought you were dead, Dino. Haven't seen you in months." Dean forced a smile. "Just taking some time off, Vince." "Time off? You? The guy who used to do 2 shows a night and then party until dawn. What happened? You get old on us." Vincent laughed at his own joke. A few of his guys laughed with him. "Something like that," Dean said quietly, hoping Vincent would take the hint and leave. He didn't. Vincent moved closer. Dean could smell the expensive cologne mixed with cigar smoke and scotch. "You know what I heard? I heard you quit the business. Just walked away. That true?" "I'm taking a break." "A break." Vincent said it, like the word tasted funny. "Lot of people depending on you, Dean. Lot of contracts. Lot of money on the table. A break costs people." Dean's jaw tightened. "I'm dealing with some personal things, Vince. I'm sure you understand." "Personal things." Vincent swirled his drink. "Yeah, I heard about that too. Your kid, right? The pilot?" The room temperature seemed to drop. Several people nearby stopped talking. Frank Sinatra, standing 20 feet away, turned to look. He knew that tone. He knew where this was going. He started moving toward them. "Yeah," Dean said. His voice was flat. "Careful. My son. Terrible thing." Vincent said. He didn't sound like he thought it was terrible. He sounded like he was making conversation. Flying those jets, dangerous business. But I guess that's what he wanted. Right? The thrill, the risk? Dean didn't respond. Just looked at Vincent with eyes that had stopped showing emotion 2 months ago. Vincent kept talking. Couldn't read the room. Couldn't see the danger. You know what I always say? Some people are born lucky. Some people are born smart. And some people are born stupid enough to fly a fighter jet into a mountain. The room went completely silent. Not the polite silence of people listening to a toast. The frozen silence of people watching a bomb go off. Vincent hadn't realized what he'd said. Or maybe he had, and thought he was among friends. Thought he could say anything. Thought being connected meant you could cross any line. He was wrong. Dean looked at Vincent for a long moment. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Just looked at him with eyes that were no longer empty. They were something else. Now, something cold. Something that made Vincent's smile start to fade. When Dean spoke, his voice was quiet. So quiet that people nearby had to lean in to hear. But every word was clear. Vincent, I'm going to say something to you, and I want you to listen very carefully. Vincent's smile disappeared completely. He suddenly realized he might have made a mistake. My son, Dean continued, his voice still quiet but with an edge that could cut glass, was a better man at 25 than you'll ever be at any age. He served his country. He had honor. He had courage. He had everything that you had to buy with blood money and threats. Vincent started to speak. Dean held up one finger, just one, and Vincent stopped talking. You just made a joke about my dead son, in a room full of people, at a party I came to as a favor. You insulted the memory of a decorated Air Force pilot because you thought it would make you look clever. It didn't. It made you look small and cruel and stupid. The room was so quiet. You could hear ice melting in glasses. Dean took one step closer to Vincent. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't have to. Here's what's going to happen now. You're going to leave this party, not in 5 minutes. Not after one more drink. Now. You're going to walk out that door, get in your car, and go home. And you're never going to speak to me again. Ever. If you see me on the street, you'll cross to the other side. If we're at the same event, you'll leave. If someone mentions my name, you'll stay silent. Vincent's face had gone red. He was a made guy. Connected. Nobody talked to him like this. Now wait a minute, Dean. You can't. I can. Dean's voice was still quiet, still controlled, but there was something in it now that made Vincent take a step back. Because right now, Vincent, everyone in this room is watching you, and they're seeing you for what you are. A man so insecure, so desperate for attention, that he'll mock a dead soldier to get a laugh. And they're wondering if you're really as powerful as you think you are, or if you're just a bully who's used to people being too afraid to call you out. Dean took another step forward. Vincent took another step back. But here's the thing, Vince. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of your friends. I'm not afraid of anything you could possibly do to me. You know why? Because I already lost everything that mattered. My son is dead. There's nothing you can threaten me with. Nothing you can take from me. Nothing you can do that hurts worse than what I wake up with every single morning. The entire room was watching now. Frank had stopped moving, just stood there, witnessing his best friend do something he'd never seen before. Dean Martin, the guy who never made waves, who always played it cool, who avoided confrontation at all costs, was destroying someone with nothing but his voice and his words. So here's your choice, Dean said. You can leave now with whatever dignity you have left, or you can stay. And I will spend the rest of this evening making sure every single person in Vegas knows exactly what kind of man you are. I'll tell them about the time you made fun of a decorated pilot who died serving his country. I'll make sure that story follows you everywhere. Every casino, every restaurant, every business meeting. You'll be the guy who mocked Dean Martin's dead son." Vincent looked around the room, saw 200 pairs of eyes watching him, saw Frank Sinatra staring at him with barely contained rage, saw Sammy Davis Jr. shaking his head in disgust, saw casino bosses and entertainers, and even some of his own people looking at him like he was something they'd scraped off their shoes. "I didn't mean," Vincent started. "Yes, you did," Dean interrupted. "You meant every word, and now you're only sorry because you got called out. That's not an apology. That's cowardice." Vincent opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. He was a man who'd spent his entire life using power and intimidation to get what he wanted, and he'd just been dismantled by a grieving father who spoke in whispers. Dean took one final step forward. His voice dropped even lower. Only Vincent could hear him now. "My son's name was Dean Paul Martin. He was an Air Force captain. He flew F-4 Phantoms. He died doing what he loved, and his memory will outlive both of us, but especially you, because everyone here is going to remember you as the piece of garbage who made fun of him. Now get out." Vincent looked like he wanted to say something, wanted to threaten, wanted to save face, but he couldn't. Not with 200 people watching, not with Dean Martin standing there, broken and grieving, but somehow more powerful than any connected guy in the room. Vincent turned and walked out. Didn't say goodbye to anyone, didn't look at anyone, just left. The door closed behind him. The room stayed silent for another moment. Then Richard Castellano, the birthday boy, the host, walked over to Dean. "Dean, I am so sorry. If I had known he was going to..." Dean held up his hand. "It's not your fault, Richard. I appreciate the apology. You want me to..." Castellano made a gesture, the kind of gesture that meant specific things in certain circles. "No." Dean's voice was firm. "I don't want anything done to him. I just want him gone. That's punishment enough. Trust me." Castellano nodded. "Consider it done. Vincent Marconi is not welcome in any property I have influence over, which is most of them." Dean managed a small, sad smile. "Thank you." Frank came over, put his arm around Dean's shoulders. Didn't say anything, didn't have to. Sammy joined them. Then Joey Bishop, the Rat Pack, or what was left of it, standing together in silent support. After a few minutes, Dean looked at them. "I'm going to go home now. You want company?" Frank asked. "No. I just want to be alone with my son's memory, without garbage, like Vincent Marconi, polluting it." Dean left the party, drove home, and for the first time in 2 months, he felt something other than grief. Not happiness, not peace, but something, a small satisfaction that he'd defended his son, that he'd stood up for Dean Paul's memory, that he'd made sure everyone knew his boy was a hero. The story of what happened that night spread through Vegas like wildfire. Within days, everyone knew. Vincent Marconi, the tough guy from Chicago, had been verbally destroyed by Dean Martin, without raised voices, without threats, just words, cold, precise, devastating words. Vincent's reputation never recovered. People started avoiding him. Business associates distanced themselves. Within a year he'd moved back to Chicago, basically run out of Vegas by a grieving father who'd simply told the truth. Years later, Frank told this story in interviews. That night, I saw the real Dean Martin, not the cool guy, not the performer, the father, the man. And I saw that quiet strength is more powerful than any amount of loud violence. Dean didn't need to hit Vincent. He didn't need to threaten him. He just needed to tell him the truth, in a room full of people. And that truth destroyed him more completely than any beating ever could. The lesson here isn't complicated. Real power isn't loud. It isn't violent. It isn't threats and intimidation. Real power is a grieving father standing his ground and defending his son's memory with nothing but words and absolute conviction. Real power is staying calm when you have every right to explode. Real power is knowing that dignity and controlled rage are more devastating than any amount of shouting. Vincent Marconi thought he was powerful because he was connected, because he could threaten people, because he could get away with saying whatever he wanted. But Dean Martin showed him what real power looks like. It looks like a broken man standing up straight, speaking quietly, and destroying someone's reputation forever without ever raising his voice. That night, 2 months after losing his son, Dean Martin reminded everyone why you don't mess with a man who has nothing left to lose. Because that man is operating on a completely different level. His priorities have shifted, his fears have disappeared, and his focus has narrowed to one simple thing: protecting the memory of what he loved most. Vincent Marconi made a joke about Dean Paul Martin. He thought he could get away with it, because he was connected, because he was powerful, because Dean was just an entertainer. He was wrong, and he paid for it with his reputation, his business relationships, and his place in Vegas society. All because he didn't understand one simple truth: never insult a man's dead son, especially when that man is Dean Martin.